All right, we'll give that a go. So, welcome everyone to the Fall Garden Challenge using the Grow Now Garden Planner. We're gonna hang out for a second and, you know, share where you're from or what you're looking forward to grow, and then we'll get into day one, which is gonna be pretty cool, I think, to get started and go through kind of setting up things for your fall garden. So while people are sharing or trickling in, a little bit about myself. My name's Brandon. I'm the face behind Grow Now Harvest Later and the garden planner that you kind of see around the beginner gardening tips page. I was born and raised in South Florida, and I still live down here. And I really just got into gardening a few years ago because, it was pretty simple, right? I wanted to grow my own food and, reduce the reliance on the supermarket and just have more control over the food that my family um, you know consumes. So I went on an adventure to try to learn more about that, and I was just overwhelmed. So I took it upon myself as a software engineer to build something that I use every day when I go out in the garden and to plan. And that's how I came up with the Grow Now Garden Planner. I kind of just want to share it with everybody. It's a free tool, and just something very easy that you can set up and track and stay informed, get information on just what you need to do, where to do it, and how to do it, and kind of go from there. So there's plenty of apps out there that did a lot of this, but they didn't really cater to the beginner, and that's kind of what I was focusing on. So we're gonna cover some of that here in just a second, and how we just get started, get set up, and kind of create our first garden in preparation for fall. So you can find this at grownowharvestlater.com, or if you Google Grow Now Garden Planner, it should be one of the first ones that come up now. You can look for this little leaf icon and you should be able to find it. So I think we can go ahead and just get started. Really, I answer a lot of the questions in the Facebook group, or I try to every day when I can, in the Beginner Gardening Tips Facebook group. So you can find that, on Facebook. I'm sure if you're here, you're probably already in it. If not, I'll share the link in the messages that go out with this video afterwards. But let's just go ahead and get cracking and get started. So really, day one is about creating our garden, and how we're going to go about doing that is head over to grownowharvestlater.com, and you see this welcoming image. There's a bunch of details here about the features that come with the garden planner. You can take a look at those if you want. We're going to look at them together, but you can very easily just click get started. It's free. There's also a 60-second video here that goes over a highlight, but we're going to go in a little more in depth here together. So we jump in and hit get started. It's free. That's going to take us to our login page, or sign up, right? If you haven't created an account before, you can sign in with your Google, or sign in with, if you don't have a Gmail or a Google account, you can sign up with your normal email and password combination there. I do have a few Gmails, so I'm going to go ahead and use one of those to get us logged in. So if I pop over and just one click sign in with my Google account, it'll bring me to my calendar. But we see our little mascot here, the Grow Now Garden Gnome, and he's gonna walk us through how to kind of start your garden. So first thing we're gonna do today is go through creating your garden. So if you click on this button here in the middle, it takes you to our Quickstart page. Now this is kind of why I went with making this beginner friendly, right? Because I didn't know where to start when I went down this journey, and I found it very difficult to find, okay, for my region right in South Florida, what do I want to grow? How do I grow it? All the questions that you start to have as you begin on this adventure. So this is an effort to make that a little easier to digest. So I boil it down to kind of three steps. First, we're going to give our garden a name, and I'm going to call it Fall Garden. And then for step two, it's important to give your garden a location. Right, so you can do that one of two ways. You can either look it up by zip code, or you can look it up by hardiness zone. Now, some people aren't sure what hardiness zone is, and that's fine. There's a link here that opens up a new tab in your browser, and it just opens up a map where you can type in, oh, I'm in Australia, right? How do I find my hardiness zone? And it'll walk you through how to do that. I won't, that's a pretty self-explanatory tool, so I'm not going to go into too much detail there. But if you happen to live in the U.S. and you want to provide your zip code, you can easily do that. And if you just type in your zip code, what we do is we go and fetch what the average frost dates are for your region, right, or for your location. So for my location, I'm in the zip code in South Florida 33470. That went ahead and looked up my USDA plant hardiness zone, which is 10B, and based off of that information, we can now identify when around the time where we're going to have the first threat of frost, which is when you want to have, most of your stuff harvested by, and then when your last average frost date would happen, which means the last time you can expect temperatures to dip down into where would threaten some of your plants. So here we have for my area in South Florida for the hardiness zone of 10B. December 15th is the average date based on some historical data on when we would have our first frost. And then February 7th is about the time we can expect the last time for frost to be threatening some of the plants in my garden. So it's pretty short, right? It's only about 2 months. And we're pretty lucky down here in South Florida. We really don't have freezing temperatures. So you can kind of get away with planting stuff year round, maybe not for the summer because it does get super hot. But this is just a nice way to look up by zip code, or if you want to look up by hardiness zone and you find out via this tab where your hardiness zone is. It can be anywhere in the world, right? It can be in South Africa, Australia, UK. I've had people ask me questions from all over the world using the app about how they can find this information. So if you wanted to select something different, say 7A, you live somewhere maybe in the Midwest, you see how the hardiness zone updated to 7A, what you selected, and then it also has the average first and last frost dates here. So a bit of a longer range, right, from October to April. So that kind of shortens your harvesting and growing window, right? The colder it is, right, the seasons get shorter. So let's go ahead and pop back over to my zip code because that's what I'm more familiar with and we can talk about. And I did create this little pop-up here that gives you some more information about what the hardiness zone is, how we derive that information, a little more information about the first and last frost dates, and these are just generalizations based off historical data, right? So it might not be one to one for every year, right? But can't expect anything with the weather nowadays. So that brings us into step 3. And what you'll see down here in step 3, the last step, is based on what we chose here in step 2, our location. It tells us what crops we can start. So here it's July 14th today, and it's saying, well, if I wanted to start leeks, I could start them now, right? Because I should probably try to plant those before July 21st. But we're setting up stuff for fall, so you can pop over to plant soon, and this will tell you this will recommend, right, some crops that you can start planting for your fall garden, which is exactly what we're doing today. So what you can do is you can pop in and you can say, let's see, usually leafy greens are more of the cold weather crops, as you see here, the recommended stuff. There's a bunch of leafy greens here. We got cabbage, we got kale, collards, and all kinds of good stuff. So now when you're selecting your plants, you can pop over and say, let's see, I want to do some beets, I want to do some cabbage, let's see, I maybe want some carrots too. We're going a whole little salad route here. And I think I wanted to do some radishes and some spinach. So we can select some of these crops that are recommended. And you see up here, it kind of outlines which ones you've already selected. You can deselect one if you don't want to actually grow that one, or if you're not sure. You can click it back in, and you can always add more later. We'll probably go over that more in depth tomorrow. We're just setting everything up today. And then even if you wanted to look for like next season, right? So not this upcoming fall, but like next spring, you can look ahead if you wanted to start planning some of those out. So I'm not going to add any of these here, but just wanted to highlight the recommendations. So it kind of splits out what you want to plant soon. You can either start planning for next season, or you can start a little earlier on in the time horizon and start planning some stuff soon. So once you've selected the crops that you want to add to your garden, you click this button down here for Let's Go. And what that's going to do is that's going to take the crops that we suggested or that you selected based off of the suggestions, and it's going to build a calendar. Right. So up here we have calendar. We have our hardiness zone that we selected based on your local region. We have a date selector. This is kind of cool because what you can do is you can jump ahead to another date, and it'll scroll this calendar view for you. And then if you wanted to create more gardens, that'll be set up in the future where you can create multiple gardens, and then this will be a drop down where you can select different gardens and it'll update your calendar. But now we just have one, right? So we see we have the week of July 12th, right? That starts on Saturday, and it's Monday the 14th right now. For July of 2025, we have this column and section highlighted, so you kind of know where you are in the scope of things. And then pretty much what that did is that output all of the crops that we added. And a neat thing that it does is it actually fetches what variety of beets that we recommend that you grow. Of course, you can change this. We'll talk about that more tomorrow. But this is kind of the initial creation of the garden and the initial setup of your garden and the crops that you want to grow and how it kind of builds it into the calendar. And it's kind of neat because when I wanted to grow tomatoes, right, or I wanted to grow carrots, right, we have carrots here. For my region, I didn't know what type of variety of carrots I wanted, right, or I should grow because do I want some that are more disease resistant? Do I want some that can withstand warmer temperatures? So what this whole quick start guide aims to do is suggest a variety of carrots. These are the imperator, for example, that will thrive in your region, right? So since we're new gardeners, we might want things that are disease resistant, aren't prone to pests getting them, and maybe more resistant to stress from the sun or watering stress, right? They're a little more robust. So that's what this is here. This is the variety for the crop that you want to add, and this is all done with a few clicks, right? We spent a couple minutes on the quick start, and we got a calendar ready to go. We can see that since it's July 14th, we can scroll over a little bit, and you can see this calendar start to fill out. We'll dive deeper into these tomorrow so that we can give them each the attention they deserve. But you can see the calendar start to really fill out and give you an idea of week to week how your schedule is going to kind of go for the different tasks that you need to complete. So that's really what I want to cover today for our live session. Of course, there's comments open if anyone has questions. The group is definitely a good place to ask questions. Also, in the drop down here, there's a private community that you can click on that's just for people who use the garden planner in addition to the into the beginner gardening tips group. So really super simple, right? We stood up a garden for fall. We selected some crops. We gave it a location, and we got everything we need ready to go. So I think we'll kind of wrap it up there. I'll be sharing this out with the people who want to participate in the challenge each of the days that are coming up this week, and we'll just keep cracking at it. So once again, I'm Brandon, and it was a pleasure going live and chatting about the Fall Garden Challenge here for the Grow Now Garden Planner. And stay safe out there. Happy gardening. I'll talk to y'all soon.